sun sank low over the dry plains of Arizona, painting the horizon in fire and dust. For 15 years, Samuel Hayes had lived alone on his ranch, his only companions the wind and the creak of the barn door. Once he'd been a soldier in the Indian Wars. Now he was just a farmer tending to dying crops and old regrets. He didn't talk much to the folks in town. They said the old man was half ghost, still talking to his dead wife when the night got quiet enough. He didn't correct them. Some ghosts, after all, kept him sane. One day word spread that a trader had come through with captives, 2 Kiowa boys and 1 Apache woman, the last of her people. Samuel didn't like such talk, but curiosity pulled him to town. He stood among men laughing and bidding like it was sport. The woman was young, strong in her silence, her wrists bound, her eyes sharp as flint. The trader called her property. Samuel's stomach turned. He remembered too well what men did when they thought someone was less than human. He stepped forward before thinking and placed his coins on the table. The trader laughed. "You sure, old man? She's wild." Samuel met his eyes. "So am I." The crowd chuckled, thinking him foolish. But Samuel didn't care. He untied her hands and led her toward his wagon. She didn't resist, only glared at him as if weighing his soul. He gave her water, but she didn't drink. She sat in silence all the way home. The trail dust rose around them like ghosts of the past, Apache ghosts and soldiers both gone to the same dry wind. When they reached the ranch, Samuel pointed to the small cabin behind the barn. "You can stay there. I won't harm you." She said nothing. That night Samuel left food by her door. He heard her move quietly inside, never a word. The stars above were cold and sharp. Samuel wondered if she prayed to them or cursed him beneath them. He didn't know which he deserved. He only knew that something had shifted in the silence of his land. Days turned into weeks. The woman worked beside him without being asked, hauling water, feeding the horses, fixing fences. She didn't speak, but her presence filled the emptiness. Samuel found himself watching her from the corner of his eye, the way she moved with quiet grace, the way her hair caught the evening light. One evening he caught her humming to herself, a soft, haunting melody that made him stop his work. It was the first sound of peace he'd heard in years. Winter came early that year. The fields froze and Samuel fell ill. Fever burned through his body until he could barely stand. When he awoke one morning, he found cool water on his forehead and the Apache woman tending the fire. She spoke her first words then. "You sleep too long," she said softly, her accent thick but clear. Samuel smiled weakly. "Guess I'm not good at dying." She gave a faint nod, and for the first time her eyes softened. Over the months, the walls between them slowly cracked. She told him her name was Naya. Her tribe had been hunted, her people scattered or killed. She had hidden in the canyons until hunger forced her into the open. Samuel listened without speaking. He told her in turn about the war, about the wife and child he'd buried under a cottonwood tree near the creek. When he finished, the silence between them wasn't empty anymore, it was shared. Spring returned, and with it life. Together they repaired the fences, planted seeds, and built a new shed. The land seemed to breathe again under their care. One evening, as the sunset bled across the sky, Naya stood on the porch and looked toward the distant hills. "My people believe the sun carries our dead across the sky," she said. Samuel nodded. "Then maybe they're together up there." She turned to him, eyes glistening. "Maybe yours too." Their closeness grew not through words, but through quiet understanding. When storms hit, they worked side by side, saving the crops. When nights grew cold, they shared the same fire. He taught her to read a few words. She taught him Apache songs. What began as pity had turned into partnership, and what grew from partnership was something neither dared to name. In a land where kindness was weakness, they had found strength and compassion. But peace in the West never lasted long. One morning, soldiers rode up the trail, men Samuel once called brothers. They came searching for escaped savages. Samuel stood on the porch as Naya hid behind him. "Ain't seen no one like that," he said evenly. The lieutenant squinted. "You sure? Orders say we take them dead or alive." Samuel's jaw tightened. "Ain't nothing here but a farmer and his wife." The officer stared for a long moment, then spat in the dirt and rode off. Samuel didn't move until the sound of hooves faded into the distance. That night, Naya sat by the fire, her hands trembling. "You could have given me to them." Samuel met her eyes. "And live with myself after?" She shook her head. You are not like other men. He chuckled softly. Neither are you like other women. The fire crackled between them as silence wrapped around the cabin once more. Gentle this time, not lonely. Years passed. Their hair turned gray and the farm grew into something more than land. It became home. They had no children, but the land itself seemed alive beneath their hands. When Samuel finally died one quiet autumn morning, Naya buried him beneath the cottonwood tree beside his wife and child. She placed a carved stone at his grave with two symbols, one English, one Apache. She whispered a prayer to the rising sun and turned toward the hills. People in town said the old ranch went silent after that. Some claimed they saw a figure standing by the cottonwood at dusk, a woman in doeskin with hair like raven's wings, watching the sunset. Others said it was just the wind moving through the trees. But those who truly knew the story said it was love that lingered there, wild, unlikely, and stronger than death. And sometimes, when the evening light hits the plains just right, the cottonwood casts two shadows instead of one, an old farmer and the last Apache woman left behind, together in the silence of the Wild West where kindness once changed the course of two forgotten souls.